Camp Agape is for kids in Oregon who have a parent that's in prison. It's a ministry to kids who have suffered loss because of the incarceration of their parent. I am the director of Camp Agape Oregon, so for the months leading up to camp, I help administrate and organize all of our teams. We have about 140 volunteers that work behind the scenes and with the kids, and so I get to oversee the team leaders that manage those volunteers and then organize the program so that really everything is designed to reach the heart of a kid who has a parent that's in prison. So it's a pretty fun job.
I was a cabin leader, so every time after they did their learning time, their teaching session, they'd come back to the cabin and I would basically ask them some questions about what they thought and their feelings about it. I also watched them during the night, made sure everything went well overnight, and made sure they got to meal times and to the different activities on time.
I think most kids when they arrive at camp are apprehensive. Some of them are really excited, but I think it's overwhelming. I think the idea of 4 days in a new place with a lot of different kids can be overwhelming, but it doesn't take long for them to warm up and get really excited. It's pretty incredible to see video footage even of when they're first arriving to camp and kind of their body language of being timid and intimidated and maybe overwhelmed. And then as they're leaving camp, just how they are sitting up straight and they are smiling and they are talking about this incredible time that they had and they're giving huge hugs to their friends. And I think that a typical kid has a pretty incredible life-changing experience over the course of 4 days at Camp Agape.
It started out we didn't really have any relationships with them, we didn't know them, and it was kind of almost cold when they came in. Didn't know them much, and we didn't have anything in common really besides that we all, were at this camp. And then throughout the camp, which was by the end of the 4th day, I think, our relationship was so strong that we didn't want to leave each other. We'd go and hang out and chat. Some girls were telling me about just stuff going on at school and stuff going on at home. It was friends basically. Mm-hmm. So.
There are all sorts of relationships that are developed at camp. I would say with the kids, the most crucial thing is that they get to build relationships with kids that are going through a like experience with them. I think a lot of times incarceration, if people even know that a child is experiencing loss because of their parents' incarceration, it can be a really isolating thing. So for a lot of kids, that's a private shame that they carry, and then for those that are more public about it, there's still some stigma that goes with it. So I think our number one goal is that the kids get to experience relationships with peers in a healthy way and process through some of their emotions. And then the relationships with the mentors and the other caregivers are really important, so we try and train them well, and we pick very carefully who gets to invest in those kids and build relationships with them.
It started out, they were very standoffish. They'd come in to our cabin time and they wouldn't want to answer the questions. They wouldn't want to go onto a deeper level. They would just kind of make jokes really to pass over the questions that we had. And then by the end of it, they were telling me so many things about them that honestly, just looking at them, I wouldn't have even known, Mm-hmm. Some girls were just sharing really, really emotional things, and it was because we had built up that trust there.
Well, the kids' hearts change through camp. It's really specific to each kid and what they're experiencing. I would say that in our planning, what we try and do is build trust with them initially on that first night, and then keep that trust throughout the rest of the time, and build some momentum through the different activities and the different programs so that they're able to process through what it means to have a parent in prison, but what their hope can be in, and that can come from knowing that they're loved by God and that they're cared for. And so some kids early on, they'll kind of catch wind of that and their hearts will change early, and they'll experience 4 days of a lot of freedom and a lot of fun. And some kids, it may not be until the last night where they're standing around the fire. And this year we had kids write down some different hurts that they've experienced or things that they want to give to God, and they were able to throw it in the campfire just kind of as a symbol of letting go. And I think for some of them that was really powerful. But there's also the kids that they just aren't ready to process all of that too, and so they get to have 4 really fun days, but they might leave with some more stuff to process still, and we just want to encourage and acknowledge wherever anybody's at, and just consistently care for them so that they can continue to process.
So one of the girls in my cabin, she was one of those ones that was very standoffish. She didn't want to answer any of the questions. And anytime I came to her, she'd be like, oh, I don't know. Or she'd just throw out just like a joke or something. And so I kind of was like, okay, she just, you know, she's here for a different reason than some of the other girls. It wasn't until the last night they had this thing where you wrote down on a piece of paper, like a hurt that's happened or a lie someone's told you or something like that. And we had talked about different lies that like the world tells us, and she took it more literally, and she was like, my dad tells me that he's not going to go back to jail, and every time he does, and every time it's longer and stuff, and I just keep believing him and I keep trusting him, and every time he lets me down. And so that was just really surprising because she'd never shared before, and that was shocking on its own. Well, after that we went to the campfire, and all the girls were supposed to throw in their little note in the campfire. And she went up to me and she's like, I didn't write anything down on my note, because like I said, she was standoffish and she didn't want to put herself out there, you know. And so she didn't write anything on her note. I said, that's fine. And so she like walked away, and then she comes up to me and she's just crying. And I kind of took her aside and I was like, what's wrong? And she's like, I'm the strength in my family. She has 2 older siblings, an older brother and an older sister, who are both like grown adults. They're in their 20s. And she's like, and I have to be the strong one in my family because my sister's an addict and my brother's an alcoholic, and like my mom just like can't handle it, you know, unless I'm strong, you know. And so this girl is in middle school, and she has to put on this face of strength. And it was just from that, the rest of the next day had just built such a strong relationship through that, and her story still is just so memorable to me. It still gives me chills just like thinking of her, so look forward to seeing her next year.
I'd say Camp Agape is life-changing for everyone that's involved. In small ways and big ways, I think it's a perspective changer for every volunteer that comes in to serve. I think they're given the opportunity to see how they can be used in someone else's life in really meaningful and special ways, even if it's through small things. I think it's a life changer for them in lots of ways, and obviously for the kids and for the cabin leaders and the relationships that they're building. I think it's just an unforgettable time, and our prayer is that it's something that lasts and sticks with them and gives them confidence moving forward. So I don't think anyone attends Camp Agape even for a few hours and doesn't leave changed.